Welcome to Zwolle Station, located in Overijssel province in the Netherlands. The station was designed by Nicolas Kamperdijk and built by the Rijkswaterstaat in 1866. It is one of two Stadsspoorwegen first-class waterstaat stations in the country, awarded first class for its size. In 2023, the station served over 44,000 passengers. Looks like a route map is missing. Let's go ahead and place this missing one while you wait. There are more route tasks to discover. Make sure to apply missing route maps, clear fallen trees, tidy up after fallen bikes, and fix miniature windmills. Take a seat. The train is just about to leave. The station has a bike shed with spaces for 5,800 bicycles, one of the largest in the Netherlands. Between 2010 and 2015, the station was rebuilt to cope with the increased passenger numbers expected, due to the new Hanselijn line between Lelystad and Zwolle. Welcome to the Netherlands. Embark on an all-new European journey in train sim world with Spoorlijn Zwolle, Groningen. Run express passenger services from the raised cab of the iconic NS ICMm Koploper, and dash between commuter towns with the modern NS SNG. A new country and new challenges await. In this training module, you'll be learning to drive the NS Intercity Materieel ICM, electric multiple unit. Prototypes of the ICM were built and tested in 1976 to 77, with the first train sets coming into service in 1977. It has become an iconic train for NS, servicing many intercity services to this day. Multiple subseries of the train have existed throughout its lifetime, going through multiple iterations of modernization. Working for over 40 years, this makes it one of the oldest train types, still in active passenger service, in the NS fleet. The unique design of the ICM has their cabs located on the roof, which initially allowed through gangways between coupled sets. Refurbishments of the sets between 2006 and 2011 removed these gangways as they were deemed unreliable. The ICM received the nickname Koploper because it had what's called a walk-through head, though after modernization, this walk-through was removed. Insert the master key. Set the headlights to indicate that this train is operational. You will need to set the main mode selector. This cycles the train through 4 different modes: driving, parking, off, and cleaning. Open the passenger doors to allow boarding. Close the doors before departure. Release the brakes. Set the reverser to forward. This controls the direction of travel. Move the throttle into the power range to get moving. With a designed top speed of 180 kilometers per hour, this train runs service speeds limited to 140 kilometers per hour. Now you've built up some speed. You can return the throttle to the 0 position to begin coasting. On level grades, you can coast to maintain your speed, reducing energy consumption and stress on the motors. When coasting, always remain vigilant of the gradient. as changes could cause the train to speed up or slow down. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, apply a small amount of braking force by moving the train brake into the braking range. You are approaching the station. Begin applying a small amount of braking force by moving the train brake into the braking range. Nice job. The train has safely come to a stop. You can now use the passenger door controls to open the doors. Good work. That concludes all of the basics of operating this train. In this training module, you'll be learning to drive the SNG3, also known as the CAF Sprinter New Generation 3-car EMU. The Sprinter New Generation train sets are part of the CAF Civity family of regional passenger trains. The SNG was acquired to replace the older SGM units and the push-pull loco-hauled services, the plan being to provide growth of the number of passengers on the rail network. Set the master key to on. Open the passenger doors to allow boarding. Close the doors before departure. Release the brakes. With a top speed of 160 kilometers per hour and acceleration of 1.3 meters per second squared, it's a modestly fast regional sprinter train. Now you've built up some speed, you can return the master controller to the 0 position to begin coasting. On level grades, you can coast to maintain your speed, reducing energy consumption and stress on the motors. When coasting, always remain vigilant of the gradient, as changes could cause the train to speed up or slow down. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, apply a small amount of braking force by moving the train brake into the braking range. In March 2015, NS allowed travelers and staff to choose possible interiors. Interested parties could choose from 3 interiors, with seats for the first and second class, and folding seats. The results have been an important factor in the interior choices of the new sprinters. Initially, the SNG trains had a dark blue front. While this color met EU standards, the combination of the dark color and large window made it difficult to see the train at level crossings. NS would repaint 150 trains it already had, while new trains would be delivered with the new yellow color. You are approaching the station. Begin applying a small amount of braking force by moving the train brake into the braking range. Nice job. The train has safely come to a stop. You can now open the doors. Good work. That concludes all of the basics of operating this train. In this training module, you will be taken through the basics of the Dutch Automatic Train Control System, called ATB, which provides the in-cab safety and signaling system. ATB-EG, or first generation, covers the signal pulse codes and cab speed enforcement. ATB-VV, or improved version, includes track magnets installed at select stop signals, which provide increased protection. First, let's turn on enforcement of ATB. If you leave enforcement disabled, you will still receive guidance from the system, but do not need to take any actions. With enforcement enabled, you must react correctly or the train will be stopped. The ATB system consists of two parts. One within the track and signal infrastructure to generate pulse codes, the other on board the train to interpret and enforce speed restrictions. ATB-EG enforces speed restrictions between 40 and 140 kilometers per hour, determined by the pulse code being generated from the next signal ahead of the train. The principles of ATB works as follows. When approaching a slower section of track, a change in pulse code occurs, which will be detected by the train. The train picks up this pulse code change, and the ATB determines the new maximum speed to enforce. ATB only intervenes when the train speed exceeds the pulse code enforced speed, or the brake curve speed enforced by the magnets ahead of a stop signal. So long as you keep under these speed restrictions, ATB won't intervene. In this training module, you will be exceeding the speed restrictions to see the ATB intervention and learn the procedures for handling it. When a speed restriction is exceeded, an alarm will sound to warn the driver. The driver has a few seconds to apply the brake to safely reduce the speed of the train. Accelerate the train now and exceed the speed limit. When the alarm sounds, apply braking until the train speed has reduced below the current restriction. If the brake is not applied in this time, ATB will enforce an emergency brake application to bring the train to a complete stop. Exceed the speed limit again and wait for the train to enforce emergency braking. In a situation where you need to recover from an ATB-enforced emergency braking, the following steps are the required recovery procedure. Press the Grendelin button on the digital display screen. Set the master controller back to the 0 position. There is an indicator on the display screen to indicate the emergency enforcement. The indicator will turn off after the recovery steps have been performed. You will now experience an ATBVV enforced brake curve. Proceed at 40 km per hour until the emergency brake is triggered. When approaching a signal equipped with the ATBVV magnets, you must be prepared to stop the train. ATBVV magnets will enforce a brake curve over the existing pulse code restriction, which is intended to stop the train before passing the signal. These ATBVV magnets are installed at 120, 30, and 3 meters in front of select signals, but will only enforce a braking curve when the signal displays a stop aspect. Perform the emergency brake recovery procedure as previously demonstrated. Set the master controller to the emergency position. Press the Grendelin button on the digital display screen. Set the master controller back to the 0 position. When the signal aspect improves, these magnets will disable the brake curve, allowing the train to continue solely under the influence of the pulse code restriction. The train must pass one of these magnets in order for it to relay the command to enable or disable the brake curve. In some areas there is also a disarming loop that stretches about 60 meters from the signal, which can disable the brake curve without needing to pass one of the ATB VV magnets. It is recommended to proceed at no more than 10 kilometers per hour until you pass the signal to ensure you are clear of the braking curve. Until you pass the ATB VV magnet, you will still be driving under the influence of the braking curve. That covers the basics of the ATB safety systems. You can always replay this training module if you need a refresher on these topics.